Hello and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and today we've got a puzzle by the magnificent Jovial for you. Many of you will know Jovial already because she's had some incredible Sudokus published on the channel, and also some of you will know her from the setting video that we released on the channel a few weeks ago now. It's been very popular. And yeah, I've got more news on setting videos in just a second. This puzzle on screen is called Mirrors. I think it's meant to be fairly tough, but we've had it recommended to us by a couple of people I trust, so it ought to be super. Now, I'll read you the rules in a second. A couple of things to mention first. In fact, yeah, the first thing I'll mention is that a number of people apparently watch the channel because it gives them some sort of catharsis in terms of mental health, anxiety, insomnia. Well, a friend of mine, Rob Stephenson, who I joined Price Waterhouse with many moons ago, is a mental health guru, and actually he has just given a TEDx talk on this topic. I saw the video this morning and I found it really interesting, so I thought I'd share it with you guys, and some of you I hope will also find it interesting. I'll try and remember to put a link on the screen right there. Next, we released a crossword video this morning on the channel. The puzzle that I try to solve is by Rodriguez, and yeah, it's quite funny because the puzzle contains a secret. Now, you know the secret we normally reveal occasionally on Cracking the Cryptic. It's not that secret. It's a different secret. So if you like cryptic crosswords, you might enjoy that. Now, next thing. Tomorrow we have a very special setting video for you. It's by Clover, and I know a lot of you love Clover's Sudokus. And speaking personally, I love this video as well. She says an awful lot of very erudite things about how to set. And if you're a new setter, if you've not set before, I urge you to give this video the time of day. You will enjoy it, and yeah, it's a very interesting 59 minutes that you get to spend in her company. So that'll go out probably 10 AM UK time tomorrow. Finally, I've got some new names for successful solvers of our Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Sudoku Hunt over on Patreon. So very well done to David Anderson, to Philip Kreutzer, to Steve and Jake Paltiel, and Jake is only 9 years old, so that is unbelievable. To King Gilgamesh, Joshua Rude, Oliver Walden, and Niji and KMP. Well done, all of you. And if you've not checked out that Sudoku Hunt, I highly commend it to you. It's over on Patreon right now. And with that, let's get to Jovial's puzzle. Here are the rules. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue in the top left corner of the cage. Digits cannot repeat within a cage, so completely standard killer Sudoku rules. Digits along a main diagonal marked in blue may not repeat. So that means if we look at this diagonal, obviously there are 9 digits on this diagonal, and you have to put the digits 1 to 9 once each on this diagonal and once each on that diagonal too. And that's all there is to it. And now I can hear Maverick just doing his fly past again. But do have a go. The way to play, click the link under the video. Can't remember if I said that. Maverick has distracted me. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, how shall we get cracking here? The 8 cage is maybe... I know something about the 8 cage. I don't know that I know too much about the other cages. An 8 cage in 3 cells has got to contain a 1. Now the 5 cages are sort of shouting at me. Why are they shouting at me? Do they have to be different? Yes, they do. Right, this is clever actually. The 8 cage here acts as a sort of pivot around which the 5 cages rotate, because let's imagine this 5 cage was a 2-3 5 cage. Now, what do we know about this 8 cage now? We know the 8 cage must contain a 2 or a 3. Now, that 2 or 3 would therefore have to go there. Now, once this is 2 or 3, you can't put 2 or 3 up there either. And obviously what you can't do is put 1 4 in both of those, because then you can't put 1 in the 8 cage at all. So we are going to get the opportunity, I don't need much excuse for this, to colour that can be purple, that can be green. One of these is 1, 4, one of these is 2, 3. And in fact, Clover's setting video talks about Sudoku solving in terms of humour, and that is exactly what I felt when I saw this. This I don't know why, but it makes me smile and chuckle, because if these 4 squares here contain exactly the set of digits 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they do because they're a 2, 3 pair and a 1, 4 pair, they all look at that square, which now cannot be 1, 2, 3 or 4, yet must go in a 3-cell 8 cage. So we know what that digit is. That's 5, and it must go with a 1, 2 pair, not a 1, 2, 3 pair, a 1, 2 pair. And we are often running with a digit. And we've got virtual, I can see we've got sort of virtual 1, 2 pairs now. So in row 1, whether this is 1, 4 or 2, 3, those 3 squares must contain the digits 1 and 2. And in row 9, again, whether this is 1, 4 or 2, 3, those 3 digits must contain the digits 1 and 2. I'm not sure if that matters, but I thought I'd mention it because I saw it. Now the next thing that's catching my attention is the 15 cages and the 18 cage, because I'm wondering whether they work the same way as the 5s and the 8s. In fact, yeah, I wonder if this is called mirrors, this puzzle. So maybe this is we have to view this a bit like a mirror, and we're sort of reflecting round this axis. But we're not. Maybe we're trying to prove that things you see in a mirror don't look exactly the same. I don't know. Now the problem with this though is that I don't know enough about 18 cages in 3 cells to be very sure at all what they can and can't contain. I mean, I know that they must have a 7, 8 or a 9 in them, or both, because 7 plus 6 plus 5 gets you to 18. But I'm not sure that means these have to be different necessarily. Now, oh, no. Right, here goes Maverick again. Now, yeah, what we can do here, we can show these are different, but we don't need the 18 cage to do it, actually. We just need this box to do it. Because if these were both 7 and 8, where do we put 7 and 8 now in box 7? You can't put both of them in this square. It is not a Schrödinger cell. It cannot have 2 sort of states of existence simultaneously. So as Schrödinger cells are not allowed, you can't make these the same, because obviously if these are 6, 9, the 15 cages will end up with exactly the same problem, having to put both 6 and 9 and cram them both into this cell at the same time. So these are different, and that means I'm going to colour those in as well. And we're getting pretty patterns. Now I'm wondering about this cell, which now, a bit like this cell, now sees 6, 7, 8 and 9, because it sees those via the 6, 7, 8 and 9 we know exist in the 15 cages. Now this can't be 1, 2 or 5 either, so this square is limited to just 3 and 4. And it's just beautiful so far, isn't it? It's so elegant, it really is. Now, my hunch is that this can't be 3, but I can't quite work out why immediately. Because if this is 3, those will add up to 15, and that feels like I'm going to get too cramped up with... Yeah. Yes, that won't work. You can't put 3 here, because now, whether this is 7, 8 or 6, 9, it will clash one way or the other. So let's imagine, let's just put some digits in here so we can demonstrate this. Now, these 2 squares have to add up to 15, so we either have to put 7, 8 in there. Well, if we do that, this square won't have a valid option, or we have to put 6, 9 in there, in which case this square won't have a valid option. And obviously that works the same way if we put 7, 8 and 6, 9 the other way round. So that is not 3, this is 4. These 2 squares add up to 14 now. which means they're either 6 and 8 or they're 5 and 9. And I'm wondering if we can do anything with that. Well, I can see if it's 6, 8. If that's 6, 8. Oh, right. This is really beautiful. This is really, really beautiful. Let's imagine that this is 6, 8. Now, what we're going to have to do now is realise that 6 and 8 belong to different colours of 15 cages. So let's imagine that the 7, 8. Let's imagine that the red is a 7, 8 cage and the blue is a 6, 9 cage, just for the sake of exposition. Because now we know what colour must this be. Well, we know this can't be 8, so this has to be blue, and this has to be red. But now look what we've done. We've now created a new Schrödinger cell. This cell, rather than whatever it was that we had before, when we were just looking at 7s and 8s having to be crushed into this square. Now we have red and blue have to be crushed into this square, because where does whatever goes in there go in box 7? Has to be in this square. Where does whatever goes in this square have to be in box 7? The same square, but these two squares are not the same digit, so that's impossible. That's lovely, absolutely lovely. So actually, this I am loving this so far. It's just, oh no, I want to get rid of just the digits. Right, there we go. Now I've got to get rid of, yeah, I have got to get rid of those colours, because what we've shown is this isn't 6, 8, so that's 5 and 9. And now I know one of the 15s has got a 9 in it, but I don't think I know which one, do I? But I don't need to know which one. No, I don't. One of these is a 9. Whichever one is a 9 will obviously determine which one of the 15 cages is a 9. If this is a 9, this 15 cage can't be a 9, so that one would have to be. And look what that would do. If these 3 squares here contain a 9, 9 in box 7 has to be here. Now if this is a 9, that means the 9 is in that 15 cage, and it's exactly the same. 9 ends up in row 8, column 2, by dint of geometry. Now, what do we do next? Now I'm thinking about 7, whichever one of the 15s is 7 and 8, is going to create a sort of offset domino here in. So if the red 15 is 7, 8, you can see that would have to create a red 15 domino here in box 7. But if the blue 15 is a 7, 8, that would create a blue domino in box 7. And again, everything is sort of being mirrored around this diagonal line. Have I actually used the diagonal yet? I'm not sure I have. So although this line is important, I've not used it in terms of solving. That's probably an error. What can we do with the diagonal? I'm not sure. I'm wondering about 9s, because whichever one of these is a 9, it's going to force a 9 either into box 1 or box 9, I think. Because if this is a 9, you can't put 9 in this 5 cage, that will be a 9. And if this is a 9, I'm going to get my anti-aircraft gun out in just a moment. If this is a 9, you can't put 9 in that 5 cage, and this will be a 9. Okay, that is interesting, actually, because, of course, if this is a 9, you can't put 9 in red, so that would be a 9. So maybe now is the time we think about the diagonal. Yeah, this is interesting. I now think there is a 9 in an 11 cage, because if this is a 9, there must be a 9 in blue. And look at this diagonal now. We've not put a 9 on it. The 9 is not in those 3 squares. It's not in those 3 squares. Now, if, on the other hand, this is the 9, then we can't put 9 in blue here, and there will be 9 in red, and it's exactly the same effect. You can't put 9s in there or there, so there's still a 9 in one of those 3 squares. 9 can't go in the middle because of that 9, so there is a 9 in one of those 2 squares, which means there's a 2 in one of the 11 squares to complete the 11 domino. But I mean, I accept that these are very far from ideal pencil marks, but I've got so few pencil marks in, I hope you'll forgive me. So, what does that mean? There's a 2 in one of these squares. I don't actually know what that means at all. Come on. And then, can I do more with 9s then? Do we know more about 9s than I think we do? So if this is a 9, 9. I don't think I know the order of these. Get a 9 here. No, I don't think I do. So whichever way round the 9s are, we just get a 9 in one of these 2, but I don't think I know which is correct. You know, no matter which... Oh, no, hang on. Yes, I do, don't I? I do. Because, of course, I'm going to pinch them with the 18 cage. So if this is the 9... Oh, this is going to get complicated. If this is the 9, this is the 9, that's the 9, and that's the 9. And then vice versa if this is the 9 instead. And that will push a 9 into... that will push a 9 here in column 5. So if, on the other hand, this is a 9, then that's a 9. These are 9s. And that will push a 9 here, which puts a 9 here. Good grief. Right, so whichever way round this goes, you get a whole plethora of 9s in the grid. Which... that feels quite interesting. I'm not quite sure I understand it. So there's either a 9 here or here in the finished grid. Depending on which way round these 9s go. So these 9s sort of have an effect in terms of those 9s. Although it is actually quite difficult, full stop, to put a 9 in this column. Because you can't put it in the 6 cage and you can't put it in those cells. Oh, right, sorry, right. I think I've backed into something here I could have got more easily. Look at column 5. Where does 9 go? Right, 9 is not in those 3 squares very straightforwardly, because we know 9 is in one of the 11 cages. It's not in the 6th cage, because it just can't be there. You can't accompany it with -3. So we're down to just 4 cells. Well, we can eliminate this one very easily because of the 9 here. Now, let's think about these 3 squares together. What do we know must appear in one of those 3 squares? The answer is 9. It must do, because if this is 7, 8, then we know that this is 6, 9, and that means this is a 9. And if this is a 9, well, then it's a 9. You don't have to worry. If this is not a 9, that's a 9, and there must be a 6, 9 here. I can't remember which way round I've done it, but I think I've done it both ways in the end. So there's definitely a 9 in one of those 3 squares, and there's the same logic obviously applies on the other side of the mirror. So this can't be a 9. Now this can't be a 9 either, because remember, there's a 1-2 pair. There's a virtual 1-2 pair in row 9. Now, if there's a virtual 1-2 pair in those 3 squares, you can't put 2 in the 11 cage. And this works identically here, except for the fact that you can't put 1 in the 10 cage. And that fixes that the 9 can't go in there when we think about row 5. So the logic. So in this column, you can't put 9 in any of those squares, and 9 goes here. And in this row, you can't put 9 in any of those squares, and the 9 goes here. Bingo. Right. So actually, that's very odd. It doesn't matter which way round these 9s go. Now, I suppose it doesn't, because whichever way round they go, once you combine them with the effect of the coloured 15 cages, you get the same effect. And that's huge, because that gives us a digit there and a digit here. Ah, and now the 6 cages look like they might be coming into power, because this can't be 1-5 anymore. This is begging the question, isn't it? Can this be 2-4? Is that going to be a problem? The answer is I don't know. If this is 2-4, you can't put 2s and 4s there. 4 becomes incredibly restricted because you can't put it on the diagonal. So 4, there would be a 4-9 pair in box 5. That would put a 7 in one of those squares. I don't know why I'm thinking that can't be, but something is shrieking at me that that is not possible. Why don't I think I can put a 7 in there? Oh, I know why. I know why. This is absolutely beautiful. Again, you cannot put a 7 in these squares. Why not? Well, it's because we know from right at the start, one of the coloured dominoes, either the red domino or the blue domino, is a 7-8 pair. And we know that whichever one is a 7-8 pair has a mirror in one of those dominoes. And that mirror eliminates 7 from both of these squares. Because if this is 7-8, you have to put 7-8 there. So this 7 is impossible, this 7 is impossible, and obviously it works the other way round the mirror. So this is gorgeous. So now I can't put 2-4 in this domino because it breaks with the 4-9 pair. Let's get rid of the pencil marking. So I must put 1-5 in here, which is not surprising given we've managed to we've forced every pair in these directions to be different so far. Now we can make this one yellow. That will be fine. Now, what do we know now? Two things I think we know now. I'm just thinking about. Where do the low digits here and here, the 1s and the 2s, I think the 1s are better than the 2s actually, because I can put 2 in the 11 cage. But I've noticed that 2 is very restricted in this column because of the 1-2 pair there. So we can't put 2 here, we can't put 2 here. You can't put 2 in a 15 cage. So you have to put 2 in one of these 2 cells. Running out of colours to... I don't really want to pencil mark across this boundary because I think I will just get completely lost. But let's try and remember. We'll slightly darken this. No, I won't be able to see that. We'll slightly darken it more. One of those 2 squares is a 2. But I think it's better for 1s in row 7. These can't be 1s because of the 1-2 pair. This can't be a 1. You can't put a 1 in an 11 cage, and you can't put a 1 in a 15 cage. So this square is a 1. Which means 1 is in one of 3 positions in box 3. That doesn't seem to have done very much at all, does it? Does 1 on the diagonal do anything for us? Ah, no, I tell you what, I have maligned this one unfairly. I apologise. I'm a big enough man to say sorry when I'm wrong. This 1 may not do anything with 1s, but it does things with 5 cages that are in its box. This can't be 1, 4. So we now know the 5 cages. This is 2, 3, which is lovely. That gives me a 2 and a 1 over here. This must therefore be 1, 4. And this 1 turns out to have superpowers because now it's operating through the diagonal, giving me a 1, 4 pair here. Oh, good grief. And a 1, 5 pair here and a 1 there. And I can't put 1 in an 11 cage, so 1's got to go here. And now I'm suspecting I can place a 1 here in the middle box because of the diagonal, and a 1 here, and I've done all the 1s. So this 1 has made me look rather foolish. Okay, these things happen. Now this must now 4 must be interesting in the middle box because 4 has appeared on both diagonals. Yes, and 4 is in the 2, 4 pair, so 4 is vertical in column 5, which yes. Let's come back and look at this 11 cage. It can't be 2, 9, 3, 8 or 5, 6, so it's 4, 7. There's a 4 up there now, so that's 4, that's 7. 4 is in this domino by Sudoku. I'm sort of getting hopeful here. Now I'm going to look at the 10 cage over here. It's very good when you're doing a puzzle called mirrors. Every time you do some logic down here, just mirror it, and you'll probably find something, and that seems to be the case. That's got to be a 3, 7 pair because it can't be 1, 9, 2, 8 or 4, 6. And it helps if you write the right digits in. That's 3 or 7. So 3 is now trapped into one of 2 places in box 7. 2 is locked into exactly one of 2 places in box 8 as well. You're just using these 2s. I was just wondering if I can't do the same trick with 9s that I could do with 7s and 8s because this is a 9. So whichever one of these is 6, 9, you don't get the same domino effect. In fact, you get a 3, 6, don't you? If that's 6, 9, those have to be 3, 6 because they're 7, 8, which creates a 7, 8 domino. There is a lot of weirdnesses in this puzzle. Okay. I'm now not exactly sure where I should be looking. 5. So, right, this might be worth looking at. So the question I'm asking is whether I can put 5 in the 11 cages. And I think the answer is no. I looked at this for another digit a moment ago, didn't I? But if one of these digits is a 6, that's surely impossible. It is impossible. Because it's exactly the same logic we've looked at before. Let's imagine we try and make this square a 6. Now we know that this has to be a 6, 9 pair because this can't be, and one of them needs to be a 6, 9 pair. Now that's going to plonk a 6 into this square in box 7. So this can never be a 6, and the same logic works just around, after rotation in this square. So that means in the central box, 5 is in one of those 2 squares. That must be... You rotten thing. That does nothing, I don't think. Okay. Sorry. That felt very... I think there's something more going on with these 11 cages, because I don't think I can put as many digits as I thought I could put into these two squares because they keep getting eliminated by the 15 cages. So let's actually work out what we can put in these two squares. We know we can put 9 in. Now if we put 8 into one of them, we'd have a 3 in one of these squares. That might be possible. I can't see why that's not possible. If we put 7 into... we can eliminate 7 straight away because of this 4. That's impossible. 6. Now 6 gives 5 in one of these two positions. Now I can see how 1, 5 is definitely getting eliminated because of this 5, 9 pair here. So if that's a 5... Whoa, that's horrible. That's very, very difficult. But I can see that's not possible. If you put, let's try and put a 6 here to see what happens. If this is a 6, you have to put the 5 here. Now, the 18 cage now forces a 5 here and a 9 here, which means that square can't be 9. But we know one of those is 9. We did that right at the start of the puzzle. There must be a 9 in one of the 11 cages. So I don't think you can put 6 into these. And that might be cool if we can keep going with this. If we put 5 in, you see, yeah, it's going to be lovely now, because as we go downwards, we're going to get bigger restrictions on these cages, because we're starting to hit the numbers that we know can't go in these squares. If we go 5, we've got to put 6 in, which we just ruled out, because we know there's a 6 in one of these. If we go 4, we've got the same problem with 7. We know that there's a 7, 8 issue. 3 is going to be the same. 8's a problem. 2, no, that's exactly the same. 9 is a problem because we know... Oh no, maybe 9 isn't a problem. Sorry, I was thinking about this 9. I think I might be wrong about that. You might be able to put 2 in here. If they've got a 9 in these squares, is that going to work? No, it's not. No, and I have already thought this through. I've just forgotten. We know in each of the columns that the red plus this square in this column, there's definitely a 9 in one of those 3 squares. The same is true in row 7, so you can't put 9 in those squares. This is very, very intricate, but that means we've got an 8, 9 pair in box 5 now, which means those 2 squares can only be selected from 2 and 3. And what does that mean? That means that I have not got a clue. Has this done some sort of magic on the puzzle? I'm not sure it has, you know. I'm not sure. In this box, have we got real restrictions on anything that I've not pencil marked? 2s maybe. 2s are in one of 3 places. 7 would be very... If this was a 7, look, you'd lock a 7 into that square. Oh dear. Sorry. I am trying to spot something. Okay. I have spotted something, I think. This row keeps coming back to help me. Where does 5 go in this row now? This 5 rules it out of there. You can't put 5 in a 15 cage. You can't put 5 here. And you can't put 5 in a box that already has 5 in it. That is a 5. And that is part of this magical 18 cage, which is... this is good. This is good. Now we get a 7, 8 here, which immediately allows me to do 7, 8 there. Allows me to place 3 here. This must be 6 using the logic we've been doing. This 3 is giving me a 2 here. That gives me a 9. That's an 8. That's a 3. Now, 2 in this row must go here because it can't go in the 15 cage, which we know. Well, actually, we know it's 6, 9. And there's a 9 here. So that's a 9. That's a 6. And 9 goes there through the magic of Sudoku of all things. This is a 6, 8 pair. That goes in. That goes in. 8 lives in one of these 2 squares. 3, 7 here means I get my 7 and 8 disambiguated. Those squares have to include a 9, and the 9 must go there. This must be a 6. 9 goes here by Sudoku, and we click the 9s and we have placed all of them. And then we can get this digit, which must be a 5, because we need a 5 in this column. Oh, that's not giving me new information in box 5 though, because I've already got the 5s into one of those squares. But this square must be doable now, because we need to put an 8 in the row. Now those squares are now known to be 4, 5 and 7, and there's a 4, 5 on the diagonal, so we can get the 7. And in fact, let's revisit this diagonal. So we've got 6 digits on it. We need 2s, 3s and 6s. That square can't be 3 or 6. That square seems to be 2, 3 or 6 as well. So this is 2, 3 or 6. That's not 3 because of the 3 here. This square is 2, 3 or 6 bobbins. So those squares are 4, 5 and 8. Are they? Or have I misscanned that? I don't think I've misscanned it. That's a 4. So we can get rid of 8 from this one. Ah! Oh dear. Okay, so now we're going to have to find something else. It looks like we've done quite a lot of damage though, in terms of at least... Yeah, now this 6 in fact is lovely because that 6 can't go in there. So we found a 6, 8 pair now in box 2. Which should be nice for those 2 squares now, which have to be selected from 2, 5 actually, look, 5's done. So these 2 squares are 2 and 7. There's a 2, lovely, we get the 2, we get the 7. We get the 7 and a 3. The 3 gives us a 6 in the middle, which is often the most useful square in a diagonal Sudoku. Those 2 squares now are a 3, 4 pair. Whoops. And this 5 is giving me an 8 here, which is ruling out 8 from this square. Let's tidy up the pencil marks. We still need a 6 in one of those 2 squares. But we do know what these 3 squares are now. They are 2, 4 and 7, which we can probably get something done with. Not that one. Not that one. No, we can't get anything done with those. But look, we've got 6 numbers on this diagonal. So we're still looking for 3s, 7s and 8s into these squares. So let's see if that gives us any joy. That can't be 3. 7, 8, 7, 8 pair in the top row. I've just noticed. That can't be 7. That can't be 8. So the thing I've seen here is those 2 squares are 7 and 8, which gives us a 2 there. Tidy up the pencil marks again. This 2 gives us a 6 over here. So now this square must be known. We need a 5 in the row, and it must be in this position. That finishes the 4 and the 5 at the bottom, which gives us the 4 and the 2 there. Now these 3 squares have got to be 2, 4 and 6 to complete the box, and we have a 6 in column 9. So that's a 6, that's a 6, that's an 8. These are a 2, 4 pair, I think. This 2, 4 pair is giving me a 3 at the bottom. That's on the diagonal, which sees this square. So that's now a 2. That's now a 3. The 3 sees the 7 on the diagonal. That becomes 8 and 3. The 7 sees the 4, 7. That sees the 7 and the 8, and the 2 and the 4 are finished. I think we've almost cracked this. Let's look at this column where we still have to put 5 and 8 in, and there's 8 here, so that's 8, that's 5, that's 6, that's 5, that's 4, that's 4, that's 3, and if I've not made a mistake, that's 3. And that is one beautiful puzzle. Let me click tick. Yes, really, really special, that is. That is, you can see how Jovial has built this idea up around. It's not even this diagonal that was the whole key to it. It's these funny sort of L-shaped boxes and the effect that they have, or L-shaped cages, and the effect they have on the digits pointing at them. I absolutely love the fact that we were able to, you know, get 1, 2, 3 and 4 all looking at this square, 6, 7, 8, 9 all looking at this square, and how that sort of led to logic that we could then use. Now, the bit that I was less sure was clean, it was clean logic, but I'm not sure if it was what Jovial intended, is I got 9s into these 2 squares, didn't I? One of those was a 9, and I think I could have ruled out digits from these 2 squares with a bit more efficiency, because there's so much going on in this row and this column around what you can and can't put in, and I never quite got to grips with that as well as I feel like I should have done. But it is just brilliant. I mean, it's just brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. I do enjoy reading them, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.